President. Police and judicial cooperation is a priority for the European Union so that we can fight more effectively against organised crime and international terrorism. We all agree on that. So more police cooperation implies increased exchange of data between the competent authorities of the Member States. However, the European Union must allow a level of protection of private life which is at least equal to the one guaranteed in the context of the first pillar, and that will enable us to strengthen the principle of mutual trust, which is the cornerstone of police and judicial cooperation. If all the competent authorities know that the data they receive are entirely reliable and that the data that they transmit are protected in the same way as they are in their own state, then they will no longer hesitate to exchange information. So this joint debate is a positive one. However, I do regret the fact that the Council has not seen the need to link the adoption of the framework decision on data protection and the data sharing instruments under SIS2 and VIS. We've repeated this on many occasions. As far as the European Parliament is concerned, it will be impossible to continue with discussions on new data exchange in the absence of legislation at European Union level as far as data protection is concerned. And this is why I deplore the way in which the Prüm Treaty has been negotiated and concluded outside all the existing instruments at European Union level. We are very satisfied that the German presidency should have seen to it that this has been transferred into European Union powers, especially so that this guarantees democratic control by the European Parliament. But nonetheless, it is unacceptable that we should have been consulted as a matter of urgency on a treaty which has got implications for the protection of the private life of European citizens. The Prüm Treaty contains a number of provisions on data protection, but these are still inadequate. The adoption of the Prüm Treaty should be subjected to the adoption of the framework decision on the protection of data under the third pillar. Having said that, I would like to thank the German presidency for the efforts it's made to get the framework decision on data protection moving within the Council, and I very much appreciate the very constructive talks that I've been able to hold with Ministers Schäuble and Altmaier, and I would like to thank them for that. I would also like to thank Commissioner Frattini for his very effective support. I think we can agree on the fact that the framework decision is a first step towards data protection under the third pillar, but must not allow the level of protection to be lower than the one guaranteed by Convention 108 of the Council of Europe and its protocols. I very much hope that the Council will base its decision on our compromise proposal on the scope of the framework decision. A review in 3 years, as Commissioner Frattini has said, will enable us to demonstrate in practice the need to extend the scope to data dealt with at national level. I would also like to remind you that as far as the Parliament is concerned, it is essential that we tackle the issue of access and management of data by private bodies. We feel it's essential to ensure that data protection is adequate for all transfer to third countries. I'm not talking about drawing up a list where the level of protection is appropriate. I'm not talking about that. But we need to establish that data protection measures are adequate on a case-by-case basis. The German presidency has recognized our legitimate concern through adopting a political declaration annexed to VIS, and this states that the Council will continue to give priority to the adoption as quickly as possible of the framework decision on data protection, and at the latest by the end of 2007. But in conclusion, I would like to remind the Council that it entered into an initial commitment to adopt this text rapidly in December 2005 when we were discussing retention of data. And today, the European Parliament very much hopes that the Council will meet its commitments on this. Thank you.